When I opened that storage unit, I found my own name stamped on boxes my daughter-in-law tried to hide. She froze, realizing the law was on my side this time. I didn't yell, I just handed her the paper that ended her games for good. But trust me, this story's just getting started. The late afternoon sun in Flagstaff felt like it was pressing through the windshield, turning the glass into amber. I parked outside the RV showroom off Old Route 66 and sat for a moment before stepping out. My left hand brushed against the empty spot where my wedding ring used to rest, now tucked into a small velvet pouch in my purse. 35 years of marriage and nearly 40 years of work at the insurance office had taught me two things. Paperwork tells the truth, and silence carries power. The place smelled of new plastic and burnt coffee. Sales banners clapped against metal frames, and the sound of air compressors hummed in the back. I told myself. No speeches, just paper, proof, and peace. A promise I'd made to my late husband when we talked about traveling to every national park. That dream had gathered dust for too long. I walked past rows of shiny trailers until one stopped me, a white Winnebago Vista, the kind that whispered freedom. The salesman, a young man with too much gel in his hair, jumped to greet me. "Ma'am, she's road ready," he said. I smiled lightly. "I'll be the judge of that, sweetheart. Let me see the fine print." He blinked. Unsure if I was teasing. I wasn't. I checked the kitchen faucet, tapped the fold-out table, tugged at the glove compartment. It clicked neatly shut. "Clean latch," I muttered. More to myself. Every little hinge reminded me of why I was here, to prove I could still make my own choices. He tried to upsell, talking about satellite packages and paint protection. "Skip the glitter," I said. "Give me the warranty clause." When he laid the papers out, my phone buzzed. Elias's name flashed across the screen. "Mom, you bought that thing?" I didn't answer. I signed my name carefully, once, twice, ownership sealed in black ink, to share the moment. I video called him, but Callista, his wife, answered instead. "She's wasting her pension again," she said, not even bothering to lower her voice. The salesman froze. Two customers looked over. My voice stayed steady. "Callista, I'm standing right here. It's my money." She laughed softly. "Then stop acting like a teenager with a toy." I could feel the sting, but I'd been trained to absorb worse during claim disputes. "Do the responsible thing. Odessa." She went on. "Think long-term care. Who's maintaining this?" Her words rolled out like a lecture, practiced and patronizing. "We'll talk at dinner," I said, cutting the call. The salesman tried to be kind. "Family, huh?" I looked him dead in the eye. "They'll learn." The paperwork ended with the sound of a key sliding into my palm, a small, metallic promise. I tucked the title into my purse, then opened my phone's recorder app. Old habits die hard. Insurance work had made me meticulous. But she called again, and before I could switch off speaker, her voice filled the showroom. "When we take it next month, we'll make better use of it. You barely drive at night." Everyone within 10 feet heard her. My jaw tightened. I pressed record. "I heard you," I said simply. She didn't realize she'd given me more than humiliation. She'd given me evidence. Back home, the trailer gleamed in the fading sun. My driveway never looked prouder. Neighbors waved as they watered their xeriscaped lawns. I double-checked every lock, filed duplicates of every document, then stood back with a quiet grin. "You're retired from giving explanations," I told myself. "Not from living." Elias texted again. "We'll stop by tomorrow." I typed back one word. Noted. Then I brewed a cup of decaf and let the warm scent of vanilla creamer fill the kitchen. For the first time in a long time, the house felt mine again. At 8:57 p.m., the doorbell rang through the peephole. I saw Callista's perfect smile, Elias just behind her. I left the chain on. "Cute," she said, glancing toward the trailer. "We'll handle it tomorrow morning." I held the key in my palm. Her eyes locked on it. "No. Callista," I said quietly. "Tomorrow. I handle me." I woke before sunrise, the house still carrying the faint smell of last night's decaf. I made a pot of chicory coffee, the way my grandmother used to, strong enough to wake the ancestors. Through the blinds, I saw my trailer sitting steady under a pale Arizona sky. Dew sparkling on its roof. The world was calm for about 3 minutes. Then the doorbell rang twice. Sharp, not polite. Callista stood on the porch in her workout gear, sunglasses hiding her eyes, a travel tote at her feet. Elias lingered behind her, looking like a man who'd rather be anywhere else. I left the chain on and cracked the door just enough. "Morning," I said. "What brings you unannounced?" Callista smiled too wide. "We'll take it now. We'll drop you at the retirement place later." My eyes flicked to the doorbell camera's red light. Her tote was open enough to show printed papers, reservations. Probably. "That's mine," I said, voice even. "We're family, it's ours," she answered, casual as if talking about a casserole dish. "No, that's not how titles work." I unlatched the chain, stepped onto the porch, and let the camera hear me clearly. I tapped my phone, checking that the video saved. My old claims adjuster habits kicked in. Record, date, document. Callista raised her voice so the whole street could hear. "She's not safe to drive. We'll keep the trailer until we figure out care." She was building a scene. Rehearsed and smug. I replied evenly. "You're saying, for the record, you're taking property not titled to you." Her head tilted, her voice cracked just a little. The camera caught everything. Elias tried to speak. "Callista," but she cut him off with her elbow. Control always looked ugly in daylight. "Just give me the keys, Mom," she said. I held up one key ring, letting it dangle. "This is all you'll ever get." Her manicured hand reached for it. Our reflections met in her sunglasses, the trailer behind her, me in the frame of my own doorway. Then she grabbed it and turned fast, strutting down the driveway like a thief convinced she's a rescuer. Elias followed, muttering, "Babe, you're asking for trouble." I didn't move. I let silence do the work. My doorbell camera caught them laughing, bragging. "We'll be in San Diego by nightfall. Della May, my neighbor across the street." Peeked through her curtains. Good. Witness secured. The engine coughed, then roared. Callista honked twice like she was proud. I closed the door, locked it, and stood still. Quiet isn't weakness. It's data collecting. I set my coffee down, opened the home safe, and pulled out laminated papers. The title, the registration, the insurance policy, then the GPS tracker, already paired to my phone. I had installed it last night while the kettle boiled. Some people pray before bed. I plan. I drafted a short summary. VIN date, proof of ownership, attached photos, signed, time-stamped. I slipped duplicates into a red folder marked evidence. Trailer. My late husband used to say, "You can't stop a storm, but you can build a roof before it hits." He was right. I called Juniper Monroe. "Family matter," I said. "I need a witness to my paper trail." She laughed softly. "You already started it, didn't you?" "Boots laced," I answered. Next, I left a voicemail for Deputy Keats. Calm, factual, nothing emotional. "No emergency. Documentation ready." Then a polite text to Della May. "If you saw anything, keep it to yourself for now." I checked the geo-fence. A small blue dot blinked south along I-17. My heart didn't race. It paced itself. I cleaned the kitchen, rinsed the mug, and told the quiet house, "You're not alone, Odessa. You have your paperwork." On the counter lay our old atlas, the one we used to plan trips. Inside, a note from my husband. "If you get lost, trust the map you made yesterday." I smiled. Then I wrote a sticky note. VIN, photos, doorbell, witness. Geo-fence, report, 4 checked already. I opened my phone, typed 5 simple words. Check the glove compartment. I didn't send it yet. Timing mattered. The geo-fence pinged. Black Canyon City. I pressed send, watched the message mark delivered, and whispered, "I raised grown folks, not thieves." The dot slowed on the interstate. 3 little dots of a reply appeared, vanished, then blinked again. The silence in my kitchen felt alive. The blue dot on my phone stalled halfway down I-17, just hovering like it couldn't decide whether to flee or turn back. The silence in my kitchen stretched so thin I could hear the hum of the refrigerator and the faint tick of the wall clock. I flipped my phone face down, opened my red folder marked Evidence, Trailer Callista, and laid out a clean pad titled Timeline. My pen moved steady as heartbeat. 8:03 a.m. Doorstep scene? 8:17. Departure? 9:02. Folder prep? 10:11. Geofence pin? 10:28. Message sent. I wrote it like a claims file, not a diary. A preview popped up. What did you put in there? I didn't open it. I logged the time instead. Every action had to be provable later. I took a photo of the pad beside the folder. Chain of custody sealed in pixels. Then I slipped on my walking shoes, adjusted the thermostat, and steadied my breath the way I used to before hard interviews. Slow in, hold, slow out. The phone lit up again, rings, then another, then another. Callista's name, Elias's name, over and over, like they'd swapped guilt for urgency. I let each one roll to voicemail. Silence says more than shouting ever could. After the 7th call, I texted 5 words. This is only the beginning. The first voicemail previewed itself. Callista's voice tight, brittle. Is this a joke? We have the kids with us. I hit stop. Save the file. Another. Elias, weary, embarrassed. Mom, we'll bring it back tonight. Just talk to us. I saved that one too. I logged the times and durations. I snapped screenshots of the missed call stack and powered the phone down. Evidence, not emotion. I gathered my accordion folder, the title copies, my ID, and walked out into sunlight that felt too honest for the day. Flagstaff PD smelled like sanitizer and paper. A poster near the counter read, "If it's not yours, don't touch it." I smiled at that. The desk officer looked up, polite but guarded. "How can I help, ma'am?" "Family member removed my vehicle without permission," I said evenly. "I'm the sole owner. I'd like to file unauthorized use." He blinked once, then nodded, pulling up a screen. "Do you have documentation?" I slid the laminated stack forward. Title, registration, VIN photos, purchase receipt, insurance declarations, plus printed screenshots of my timeline. He went through them carefully, scanning each. "You've done half my job for me," he murmured. "Old habits," I said. "Claims adjuster, 35 years. He took my statement. "Short answers only. No adjectives, no stories, just facts and times." I gave him Deputy Keats's voicemail reference. He assigned a report number. I wrote it neatly on each document copy, stamped and initialed. When I left, I carried that stamped sheet like armor. Back home, I turned my phone on. A new voicemail waited. Deputy Keats. "VINs entered. Highway Patrol notified. If contact is made, we'll call you." Almost on cue. My geofence pinged. Speed drop near Black Canyon City. My breath caught, then steadied. A blocked number called. "Miss Rains?" a man's calm voice said. "This is Trooper Lang. We've made contact with your family member. They've been advised to return or face arrest." "Thank you, officer," I said. "I'll be home with documentation ready." No triumph in my tone, only procedure. I set out 2 mugs from habit, then paused and put one back. My house, my rules. The porch camera streamed quietly on my tablet as I texted Juniper. "It's moving back." Her reply came quick. "Proud of you. Hold your line. At 2:07 p.m. The trailer turned into my street. Della Mae's blinds tilted. I could almost hear her whisper, "Lord, it's happening." Callista braked too hard, tires squealing. Elias stepped out first, cheeks flushed, kids' faces in the back window, confused, innocent, watching adults make fools of themselves. I opened the door but didn't cross the threshold. The red folder rested against my hip. Callista snapped. "You called the cops on family?" "I called the law on theft," I said, voice steady as gravel. Elias held out the keys, metal clinking in my palm. I pocketed them. Nodded once. No invitation inside. Boundaries stay visible when drawn with dignity. Callista's voice dropped low. "We'll see a judge. You're not competent to manage this anymore." I lifted the folder, tapped the report number with my finger, and met her mirrored lenses without blinking. She pointed toward the trailer. "This isn't over." "Correct," I said, and closed the door on the word. Inside. I placed the red folder beside another labeled Will Trust. I slid on my reading glasses, the kind that let you see the fine print no one else bothers to read. At 5:12 p.m., the doorbell chimed again. Through the window, I saw a man in a tan courier uniform holding a clipboard and a thick envelope. I opened the door just wide enough to sign, smiled politely for the camera, and thanked him like it was any other delivery. He nodded, jogged down the walkway, and left me holding a legal envelope embossed with a Phoenix law firm seal. Clean lines, expensive paper. I placed it on the dining table beside my folders labeled Evidence, Trailer, Callista, and Will, Trust, before breaking the seal. I photographed both sides, timestamp clear. Then I opened it with my husband's old letter opener, the brass one he'd used to pay bills. The first page read, Petition for Determination of Incapacity. My name filled the document, followed by claims of impulsive financial behavior, poor judgment, and estrangement from family. My pulse didn't rise. I just squared the corners of each page, set the opener aside, and logged the date and page count in my timeline. No tears, no curse, only ink. I read the petition like a claims adjuster again. I circled vague words like appears and concerns, drew arrows to unsupported statements, highlighted family exploring long-term care placement. In the margin, I wrote speculative. No physician affidavit. Their exhibits were screenshots of my trailer, a cropped withdrawal notice, nothing proving recklessness. I slid my laminated receipt, VIN photos, and registration opposite their evidence. 2 neat stacks, facts versus theater. I photographed that layout, timestamp glowing in the frame. They packed feathers, I murmured, and I packed bricks. Juniper's referral came to mind, so I called the number she'd sent earlier that week, Margaret Solis, elder law attorney in town. Her voicemail was crisp. This is Margaret. I left mine just as short. Odessa Raines received incapacity petition, urgent. She called back in 9 minutes flat. Email scans, she said. I'll check conflicts immediately. I scanned every page with my phone. Edges aligned, attached the timeline, and included my doorbell footage link. Margaret's tone was steady but warm. We'll file an emergency dismissal. I'll also request a property protection order. I heard typing in the background. Sign my intake form tonight. We'll meet 9A. Her efficiency steadied me. I printed her email, signed medical and financial release forms, then made a new folder labeled Counter Solace. I underlined one phrase in red, no direct contact with petitioners. To anchor my emotions, I recorded a short video statement for myself. Date, petition served. My current state, alert-oriented. Making decisions with counsel. I slipped the document beneath a clear sleeve and, for my camera's benefit, read aloud 3 false allegations, answering each by holding up proof. My phone buzzed. Callista again. Drop the act. We can get you placed by Friday. I screenshot it, forwarded to Margaret, then Elias. Let's talk. Mom. I archived that one. Patterns matter. Coercion always alternates between pressure and pity. Before dinner, I emailed Deputy Keats the petition and my original report number. My message was short. For your records. Escalation to civil action linked to theft. He replied, received. Stay the course. By early evening. Margaret sent back a draft response. No medical basis. Retaliatory filing following property dispute. Documented competence. I signed electronically and saved the confirmation PDF. She added a motion to preserve property. No entry. No use. No tampering. And told me a judge could sign it by morning. I listed potential witnesses. Della May for the doorbell footage, Juniper for timeline, and Deputy Keats for chain of custody. Margaret scheduled 2 independent medical evaluations. It's overkill, she said, but airtight. I followed her checklist, changed padlocks, took photos of the trailer, backed up cloud copies, printed duplicates for court. I labeled my house keys, slid each folder into an orderly row near the front door, then brewed chamomile tea. My mother's voice echoed in my head. A calm hand holds power longer. At dusk, my porch light blinked on. I stepped outside, checked the trailer lock, 2 turns, 1 tug. A car idled at the corner, headlights off, then drifted away. My phone buzzed. Calendar ping, court, 8:30 a.m. I placed the petition into its sleeve, tucked it inside counter Solace, and set it beside my door like luggage ready for a journey. Then I laid out my court shoes by the mat, polished and waiting. I woke to my phone buzzing in a loop, calls, texts, and messages from every corner of my life. "You okay, Odessa? Saw something online." The neighborhood app showed a new post under a name I didn't recognize. Elderly neighbor being financially reckless. Family seeking placement. My trailer photo sat beneath it. Half my address visible. Someone wanted me humiliated before breakfast. I took a deep breath and said, "Name it, log it, yee." Then I opened my timeline and began saving screenshots. Every post, every comment, every handle. I called the HOA admin. Polite but precise. "This violates privacy and harassment clauses. Remove it immediately. They promised to look into it." I wrote down the time, the name, and the hesitation in their voice. A text came from Elias. "Please don't make this worse." I moved it to a folder labeled Coercion Soft. At 9:40, the doorbell rang again. 2 women in khaki jackets stood there, badges visible. "Adult Protective Services," one said. Her tone was rehearsed empathy. "We received a concern call." I invited them in. "Coffee, documentation, calm." "Orientation questions," I said, gesturing to my chair. I answered clearly. Date, location, who's president, what year it was, no slurred words, no confusion. I showed them the trailer's paperwork, insurance, and a doctor's wellness note from last month. We walked outside. I unlocked and relocked the trailer, demonstrated the smoke alarm, labeled first aid kit. "You seem well supported," one said, a little embarrassed. I smiled. "Always have been." I requested their intake number, logged it, and texted attorney Margaret. "APS visit complete. Cooperative? No issues." By late morning, Margaret replied, "Save caller history, screenshot the HOA thread, we'll add it to smear Callista." When I cross-checked usernames, I noticed a secondary account linked to Callista's recovery email, her initials in the metadata. I started a short video diary. March 17th, 11:08 a.m. False claim initiated. Evidence follows. I kept my tone factual, not bitter. APS closed their file neutrally, but I sent them copies of my power of attorney and health directive anyway. Della May forwarded me a message she'd received. "Help me convince her to sell the trailer. She's confused." Callista again. I saved it. Margaret called. "This supports harassment and financial exploitation. We're filing an emergency injunction today." By afternoon, I was seated across from Margaret in her office, papers stacked like fortifications. I signed my declarations. APS visit logged, HOA screenshots attached, doorbell footage noted. Her paralegal stamped each page. Less than an hour later, the judge's chambers called. Temporary injunction granted, no contact, no entry. Hearing in 10 days. Margaret called Deputy Keats to coordinate service. He confirmed patrol coverage by dusk. Then she phoned my bank's fraud desk on speaker. We set a hard lock. In branch only. Password phrase. No third-party requests. My phrase was simple. Blue Magnolia. They repeated it twice. At the vault, I signed new safe deposit terms. Dual verification, camera-only access. Stepping outside. I whispered what my father used to say. Trust but verify. Evening shadows stretched when my phone buzzed again. HOA admin confirmed the post removed and offered an apology, promising a revised policy against doxing. I thanked them and documented the call. Margaret emailed a cease and desist to both Callista and Elias. No statements about my capacity. All contact through counsel. At church group chat, I typed one sentence. "I'm well and under a physician's care. Thank you." And muted the thread. Dignity prefers brevity. I printed the injunction and taped one copy inside the storm door, another inside the trailer cabinet. Juniper called to volunteer as witness. I added her note to my binder. The house felt neither empty nor heavy, just fortified. Finally mine. At twilight, my door camera caught a silhouette at the gate. They paused, read the injunction notice, and slipped away. Moments later, a brown envelope dropped onto my porch. Inside was a grainy photo of my trailer and one line scrawled in pen. "You can't lock out family." I slid it under glass in evidence. threats, and placed my court summons card on top. I got to the courthouse before the janitor finished mopping the marble floor. Margaret Solis was already waiting. Calm as always, her files stacked by color. My binder matched hers, tabs, dividers, and receipts, all lined like soldiers. I took a breath and told myself, in by 10, out by truth. Juniper Monroe and Della Mae Kershaw arrived together, offering quiet smiles and that simple reassurance older women give each other. "We've got your back, honey." The bailiff nodded as he checked our names, then flipped through my temporary injunction folder. Across the aisle, Callista and Elias sat stiff. I didn't meet their eyes. I just whispered my 3-sentence script. Fact, impact, boundary. Margaret leaned over. "Let the paper speak," she said. "Count to 5 if they bait you." I nodded, spine straight. Deputy Keats entered with the proof of service and body cam file. Everything we needed was here. The first wave hit fast. Margaret called the HOA administrator through speaker affidavit, his voice echoing across the courtroom. He confirmed the takedown of the post, the policy violation logged, the date matching my screenshots. I laid each printout flat, highlighting the burner account that used Callista's recovery email prefix. Della Mae testified, steady as a Sunday usher, about the message Callista sent her. Help me convince her to sell. Then came the forensic contractor, professional, factual, tying metadata between the fake account and Callista's device profile. The judge's pen moved steadily. Pattern of coordinated pressure. He murmured. The opposing lawyer objected, claiming privacy invasion. The judge shook his head. Overruled. Intent is central. My hands rested still, palms flat. I didn't need to gloat. The evidence spoke fluently. Next came the health verification. Margaret presented the wellness letter from my physician and the APS report from last week. Both affirmed I was of sound mind, oriented and independent. "We're not debating capacity," Margaret said. "We're proving character." I summarized my timeline. Purchase, seizure attempt, glove box decoy, police report, smear, injunction, each step clean, dated, and verifiable. Bought with my funds, registered in my name, stored on my property. I spoke like I was reading a claim form, not a plea. The judge nodded slowly. Opposing counsel tried to frame me as reactive, Margaret countered. Preventative, strategic, legal. Her tone sliced smoother than any sermon. Then came the dashcam clip. Deputy Keats confirmed authenticity. Timestamp. Plate match. The footage rolled. The highway stop. The officer asking Elias about ownership. His smug line. "It's family business." The room stiffened. Margaret cued the doorbell video next. Callista's first confrontation, her voice sharp. "We'll drop you at the home after this." The gallery murmured. The judge's gavel tapped once for silence. Margaret said, "Your Honor, this is not confusion, it's coercion." Opposing counsel asked for recess. Denied. "We're finishing the record today," the judge said. Margaret pressed play on one last file. A voicemail. Elias's voice came through. Brittle. "If she just signs the trailer over, we'll stop the incompetency talk." Then Callista's text appeared on the projector. "Sell fast or the bank will freeze you." The judge stopped writing. "This is precisely the conduct our statutes forbid," he said. My voice was clear. "I'm not helpless. I'm not for sale. And I will not be managed by threats." The room fell quiet enough to hear a clock tick. Margaret requested the injunction extended to 1 year. 100-yard exclusion, social restraint. The judge agreed. By afternoon, the ruling stacked like layers of armor. The injunction stood, reinforced with bank protections and HOA cooperation orders. The court shifted partial fees to the petitioners for bad faith coercion. I signed each page, pen steady. "Thank you for your time," I said, the way my mother taught me, to close victory with grace. Keats escorted us down the hall as murmurs followed. Juniper squeezed my hand. "You did right," I told her. "Doing right and feeling right aren't twins." Margaret listed next steps. Monitor accounts, prepare for appeals. My phone buzzed. A photo of my trailer at dusk, taillights glowing. I forwarded it to her. "Adding to file," she replied. "Outside." Wind scraped dry leaves across the parking lot. Callista stood just beyond the 100-yard line, smiling, mouthing words I didn't need to hear. On my windshield, a tow company flyer fluttered, circle drawn around the words, "Lien auctions every Thursday." I folded it carefully, tucked it into my binder, and whispered, "Not today." I reached the credit union just after they unlocked the doors. The manager knew me by now. Everyone did after the injunction hearing. "Morning, baby," I said with a smile. "I've got orders and I've got time." I laid out Margaret's packet, the injunction order, and the bank's hard lock request. We went line by line, alerts on every transaction, no override notes, a new senior protection flag attached to my profile. The manager called back to the fraud desk. They verified my beneficiary list and tagged my EIN with no shared access. I asked for quarterly paper statements sent to my PP box, not email. "No changes unless I'm standing right here," I said. He nodded. The fraud analyst joined us, scanning for unusual credit pulls, 2 soft inquiries from a recreational lender. "Looks like someone shopping with your name, he said. "Freeze them," I replied. "Do it, and I brought cookies for whoever keeps watch." He grinned. "We'll watch your 6, miss. Rains." Next stop was the DMV. I presented my trailer title, bill of sale, theft report, and injunction order. "I'd like a fraud alert on this VIN," I said. The clerk clicked through records. "No lien filed. Ma'am." I slid the tow company flyer across the counter. "Then someone's printing lies." She called her supervisor, who confirmed no legal lien or auction notice existed. "If anyone tries," she said, "it'll ping my screen first." I requested certified copies for court and insurance. The papers came back with crisp stamps, stapled like poker cards. I smiled. "Then we'll both sleep well tonight." Midday, Margaret texted. The tow flyer traced to a cousin of Elias's drinking buddy. Unlicensed, unbonded, and bold. Juniper sent a photo. Elias loading lock bars into his truck, talking about auction Thursday. I forwarded both to Deputy Keats, who replied, "Stay put. We'll make calls." Then came another ping. Anonymous post on the neighborhood app calling my trailer abandoned property. Same phrasing as before. I wrote a short public reply. "Owner present. Court order in effect. Any removal attempt equals felony." Signed it. Docket number and all. Patrol cars passed my street that night, slow and deliberate. By sunset, I tightened my perimeter, installed a wheel boot and hitch lock, while Della May sipped sweet tea across the street, phone camera ready. I hung a laminated copy of the injunction on the trailer door. "You holler, Odessa," she said. "I'll holler quiet and let the siren do the loud part." I answered. A gray pickup crept by, unmarked, engine low. Della caught the plate. I texted it to Keats. "No drama, just routine." The sky turned copper as I walked my block, counting mailboxes like checkpoints. When you're 68 and alone, control is oxygen. Sunday morning brought faces, not rest. Pastor Laron prayed for those under pressure from their own. Everyone knew the reference. After service, a school district HR rep approached me. Tight smile, respectful tone. "Miss Rains, there's a review involving staff social media activity." Translation, Callista's posts. Now in the superintendent's hands, I said, "You handle your house, I'll handle mine." By evening, her PTO photos turned into comment section fire, neighbors asking why she'd threatened her mother-in-law. Elias texted, "Mom, people are twisting things." I archived it. Silence teaches better than lectures. Joey sent a formal notice. Harassment fines start Monday if posts remain. Margaret and I met Monday morning at her office to send cease and desist letters to the tow flyer company, to the burner handle host, to every name tied to that scam. My insurer added an anti-theft endorsement, even lowering my premium a notch for material risk reduction. We revoked all old powers of attorney where Elias's name lingered, I told Margaret. If my signature opens it, only my hands close it. That night, I built quiet safety into my life. A travel plan shared with Juniper, Della May, and Pastor Laron. Check-ins, routes. Nothing paranoid, just wise. I packed the trailer with essentials, medicine, paperwork, charger, and a mini safe. The porch light stayed on, steady like a promise. By midweek, the tide shifted. Word spread that the district had placed Callista on administrative leave. Her posts vanished, the tow business got a compliance visit, and its website went dark. Church ladies brought a lemon pie and one timeless phrase, "God don't like ugly." I said grace twice that night, feeling peace slide back into the house. HOA meetings turned into lessons on civility. My street, once full of whispers, now hummed with measured respect. Then near midnight, my phone buzzed, a county alert. Someone had tried to access my trailer's title electronically from an out-of-state IP. Another buzz followed, a photo of Callista standing outside a storage unit I didn't recognize. Keypad glowing red, caption read, "Clock's ticking." I forwarded both to Margaret and Keats, tied my robe, and laced up my walking shoes. Some nights end quietly, others ask you to stand your ground before dawn. I parked at the storage facility before sunrise, the mountains barely outlined against a purple horizon. My breath hung in the air like smoke, and the coffee in my thermos tasted sharper in the cold. I had my injunction papers on the dashboard, recorder alert still blinking from the night before. The desert chill had a way of testing resolve, made you decide if you were really ready to stand up or just talk about it. Deputy Keats arrived 2 minutes later, headlights off until the last turn. He leaned out of his cruiser window. "We keep it simple," he said. "You stay seated until I wave." I nodded. That's my kind of morning. Callista and Elias pulled up next, a borrowed SUV grumbling like it knew better. She walked fast, coat swinging, entered the gate code with her chin high, the keypad beeped, and Keats moved forward, steady, polite. "All procedure." "Morning," he said. "You're here under an active court order. Please keep voices low and phones recording," I added softly. "Yelling won't raise your rights." The gate rattled open like an old confession, and for a moment, the sunlight cut across the metal rows. Arizona justice, no robe required. Inside the unit, dust floated in gold light. My spare hitch sat by a crate of camp batteries, next to file boxes labeled in my own handwriting, Odessa L. Rains. Insurance, trusts, trailer. Then came the sting. Stacked boxes filled with printed tow flyers, identical to the scam circulating online. Keats's camera clicked. He compared serial numbers, matched them to my receipts. Callista's voice wavered. "We were holding it for you." I looked her in the eye. "That's what the law calls possession without permission." Elias stared at the floor. The deputy noted the lease. Elias listed as secondary contact. "That's enough to tie it together," Keats said. He bagged the flyers, logged the chain of custody, called in a code for attempted fraudulent lien. I didn't raise my voice once. Paper and silence did the talking. Then came my move. I pulled from my purse the sealed envelope, the same one I told her to find months ago in the glove compartment. "Remember this?" I asked. She blinked, recognizing the embossed seal. I tore it open. "This is the trust annex and no contact clause. Signed, notarized, witnessed," I read aloud. "Any act to coerce placement or seize property shall revoke all discretionary distributions and require restitution of costs." Margaret Solis confirmed on speakerphone, her calm voice filling the cold space. The clause predated their first threat about retirement plans. Callista's color drained. The math hit before the words did. The money she'd counted on had turned to dust in her own hands. By mid-morning, we were filing papers. At the county recorder's office, I logged an affidavit of ownership and a claim over the storage contents. At the small claims clerk, I filed restitution, new locks, legal fees, lost time. The woman behind the window read the line item for stress-induced cardiology visit and gave me a look of quiet respect. At DMV, I handed over the incident number for their fraud database. "If anyone touches this title," I said. "I want alarms to sing." She smiled. "They will, ma'am." Every stamp, every copy, another fence around peace. Outside the courthouse, I faced them both. "You have two choices," I said. Sign mutual, no contact and restitution today, or we let HR, the courts, and time decide. Elias opened his mouth, then shut it. Callista tried charm, but charm doesn't work on a woman who's buried a husband, raised children, and learned every form of quiet dismissal. If you wanted my keys, I told her, you should have walked beside me, not over me. Keats stood close enough to remind her the law wasn't a suggestion. I left them copies and walked away. No dramatics, just clarity. Back home. The house smelled of lemon oil and calm. I slipped the signed forms into my family file and sent copies to Margaret. The bank app pinged once. Account security confirmed. No new activity. The church ladies came by with fried chicken and stories. I let them fuss. "Child," one said, "you finally got your peace." I smiled. Peace and paper, never one without the other. At dusk, I hitched my trailer, the one that caused all the chaos. The last thing I removed was the wheel boot. The first thing I restored was my own breath. I sent my check-in text. Rolling at first light, 2 weeks, route pinned. The porch light glowed behind me. Steady as faith. Near midnight, a final alert blinked. HR placed Callista on unpaid leave. Elias requested to sign the restitution forms. I poured one last cup of coffee, set it beside my travel folder, and opened the window to the desert air. Freedom doesn't always roar. It hums, low and certain, like tires ready for the road. The morning sun stretched across the open road as I turned the key. Freedom hummed under the wheels, then my phone buzzed. A new voicemail. The same calm voice I hadn't heard since my husband passed whispered, "Odessa, they're not done yet." I froze. The road waited. What would you do next?